Folks, welcome to another Ask Us Anything call. We can already see the numbers going up with the big eyeball. So welcome to our weekly deal here with the Ask Us Anything show, Ask Us Anything episode, Ask Us Anything session. I don't even know what to really call it. Here's the deal. We're here for the next hour or so. And if you have any questions or anything like that, put that into the chat for us. And so it could be questions about LifterLMS. It could be questions about integrating LifterLMS with other tools, or just tell us who you are and where you are from. Now, before we go too deep, we're going to be talking about LifterLMS today. And if it's something that you wanted to try, but you didn't want to like make a big investment in, you can get the free core plugin from the WordPress repository. So if you have a WordPress website, you go to plugins, add new, search, pardon me, LifterLMS is all one word, just LifterLMS. It'll pop up top of the search, install it, activate it, and start playing. Just start playing, and it's free. So there's that. But if you wanted to try LifterLMS differently, if you wanted to have a fully populated, sample content, sample students, sample courses, how would this look if I really built this out kind of thing, go to lifterlms.com/try, lifterlms.com/try. Reserve yourself one of our demo sites there, and we host that for you for the first 30 days, and it only costs $1, right? So it's definitely worth trying. Now, let's say that you do go through that, or you've already done that, and you're like, man, I just need to buy a Universe or an Infinity bundle or some other add-on. Just use the discount code. Go to lifterlms.com/AMA-gift, lifterlms.com/AMA-gift, and that'll get you 55% off. And with that, welcome, Magic Emily Middleton, to the show.
Thank you. I'm just waking up. I had some nightmares last night. I'm at altitude, so the boiling point is higher than normal. How are you doing, Kurt?
Altitude's interesting. I used to live in Denver, and I remember when my first day in Denver, I bicycled over 100 miles. Now, I was young. It was 1987. But I remember, because I was a big bicyclist on the East Coast, but I remember feeling like, okay, a couple of things about moving to Denver. I was like, wow, there's a lot of hot people that ride bicycles here. Hot as in they're attractive. I was like, there's a lot of fit people in Denver. So that was one thing. I was like, there's a lot of hot people here. The other thing was I didn't sweat. Well, I sweat, but I didn't notice it because like on the East Coast, I was just dripping with sweat. I'm German. I'm one of these guys. I sweat all the time. But when I was in Denver, I rode 100 miles and like my kit was still dry. And I ended up falling in love with it and moving there. And then I acclimated to the altitude over time. And that when I road raced motorcycles professionally, I would go like to Florida, like you go to Daytona, Florida to run a race, and people would be wheezing and like falling out in the pits, from cardiovascular stuff. But I felt like I was on an oxygen tank. I felt great. Like being in altitude is so cool. How high up are you right now?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
Are you still in the I feel tired stage, or are you in the I feel kind of normal stage?
I'm starting to feel kind of normal. I'm 6,200 feet up.
Yeah, because you're young. Like you should acclimate pretty quickly. And then when you go back down to sea level, you're going to be like, I feel like $1 million. Yeah. I used to love going. Like I used to love when I lived in Denver, when I would travel and I would be like, man, I'm full of energy. I can do whatever. What do you want to do? You want to go run a marathon today? Yeah, it was just it was interesting. It's interesting to me what happens to the human body in different environments. Now I'm in Kansas. Kansas is flat. Not a whole lot of altitude here. I went to visit Hayden this year. He was volunteering at a camp in Colorado. So we went back to the mountains of Colorado, and we were at, I think, 7,500 feet. And I went on a mountain bike ride with Hayden. And this old man, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to die climbing that hill. I mean, I climbed the hill. I made it, but it wasn't. I mean, I think it was like a 4 mile an hour average. Whereas if I was doing the same hill in Kansas, it would have been like 7 or 8 mile an hour. So my performance was definitely, and then that He's young and he's fit. He just took off and left dad on the bottom of the trail. All right, Delphine, welcome to the call. Good morning from Merritt, British Columbia, Canada, the home of bears, mountain lions, and the show Alone. Kate, welcome back to the call. Kate was with us before. Kate says, I attended a webinar on gamification this morning. What scares me about that is you attended a webinar on anything because then they tried to sell you something. This morning, I'd like to explore what's possible with LifterLMS. There's a couple of things to explore there, and I'll just drop the seed with Emily if she'd be so kind.
Yeah.
Out of the box, LifterLMS has some engagements that you can really play with, right, as far as badges and things like that. But there are other tools. If you go to lifterlms.com/recommended-resources, that's recommended-resources. There's a resources page there that lists a bunch of tools that we've already vetted that work really well with LifterLMS. And one of them is GamiPress. So I'm sure that we'll be bringing that up. Kate says, I did not buy it. All right. It's all right. I'm just giving you a hard time, Kate, because I can. I'm the guy with the microphone. One of the things that was discussed was setting up a series of courses in binge mode, just like in Netflix, when you're watching a series and one episode automatically follows another. Yeah, that's like a different, instead of being like instead of gamification, I would probably call that like a sales automation. And there's some things that you can do there with CRM tools, but also Emily and I have talked about this before, where like maybe your last lesson in a course is like people that like this course also like these 3 courses. And so that's kind of a cool way to do that. It was a great deal though. All right, Kate, I'm going to try not to give you a hard time on that. Was it GamiPress, Kate? Was it GamiPress, or was it some kind of weird new thing that I haven't played with yet? Delphine, the country and music capital of Canada. Are you serious? Because I did not know that. That's a new one for me. I didn't know that British Columbia was the country and music capital of Canada. The other side of Canada is like a different kind of capital. It's the capital of French Canadians. When I used to go to Montreal, I used to get really frustrated because it's like French first, you know, and it was, and they weren't nice about it. And they sold me my milk in a bag, which I thought was really weird. I'm not down with a bag of milk. But I did go to Tim Hortons and get some coffee. So we're good there. It says Experienceify. That's a cool name. Experienceify. Delphine says it is. Okay, I'm not going to argue with Delphine. I'm have to do some research. I love music. Something you listeners might not know about me is I really do love music. I have no talent whatsoever, but I love music. When I interviewed Matt Mullenweg for a different show, Matt Mullenweg's the founder of WordPress. I thought we were going to have kind of like not a contentious, but like not like a super organically friendly conversation. And then before the show went live, he started talking about his love for jazz and music and all these things. And then I was like, all right, dude, you and I can get along. So yeah, we actually get along pretty well. All right. So let's talk about gamification, Emily. What kind of magic do you have in your back pocket for what we think of gamification? And then maybe what Kate had mentioned is possibly like sowing the seed for more sales or sales automations.
Yeah, so there's a lot to gamification in LifterLMS. When we usually refer to gamification, what we're talking about, at least what's within LifterLMS out of the box, is the engagement system. The engagement system allows us to, if the page ever loads, send engagements based on completion of events. Like, let's see. So engagements, add new engagement. What are you doing? My girlfriend is trying to snake away my phone under this camera, and I'm like, what are you doing? I see a hand crawl onto my desk and knock everything around and try to grab something. But back to engagements. Can I zoom in on this? So we can say when a student purchases an access plan, enrolls in a course, completes a lesson, completes a quiz, creates a new forum topic if you're using bbPress, enrolls in a membership, things like that. It's a relatively basic system that has about 10 to 20 engagements inside of it. We can give people emails, certificates, achievement badges. Those achievement badges show up on the student dashboard page. But when we talk about something like GamiPress, that's a third-party extension built by the same people who built Automator WP. GamiPress is a really good one, and I could install it and give a demo if anyone wants to see something more in depth, but basically it takes us beyond the idea of achievements alone and takes us into things like points. You can create points values. So you can say, whenever you complete a lesson, you get 2 points, or whenever you log onto the site, you get 1 point, and you can use those points to create leaderboards. You can use those points to create little progressions. You could use those points for e-commerce transactions and say that you can redeem points for a new copy of a course. That's what the WooCommerce integration they have. You can bank up points and buy products with points. So that's pretty cool. And then achievements, very similar to how Lifter does it. And then ranks are also kind of similar to how Lifter does achievements, but it allows people to conceptually gain things as they go through your website. GamiPress is going to be a much more deep integration. And like I said, if anyone wants to see a demo, we can definitely do it. I want to look
You're
at what
psychic.
Let's see what this is. Okay, this looks like its own course platform, the Experientify that had been mentioned by Kate previously. Oh, I feel like I've seen this brand before.
I've heard of it. I've never played with it.
Yeah, never played with it, but yeah, let's see what this is about. To accept cookies, access this content. Oh, okay. I've accepted cookies, and now I get a YouTube video.
I'm so happy to have you here.
Right? We're so happy to have you here. This looks like, I don't know what this is.
Share on social media. Get these voice messages.
Get a voice
Count your days.
Count your days. So this is like a text message stream and it counts the days you're on the platform. Maybe. Oh, so this is pretty similar. So you could send voice message, video message, and like text messages, I guess, during various events. That's pretty cool. That's similar to how Lifter's engagement system works. Lifter also has private areas, and private areas just got a big upgrade. Private areas allows you to send little personal messages to students within your platform. So what we can do is create like a little private post automation and then create a bunch of messages to go out to the student within the platform automatically. So this would be like the welcome sequence. It would happen day 1 through day 1J. Day 1 through maybe day 7. So this might be our week 1, and you could modify different welcome sequences. This is kind of a lightweight version of a CRM where we could say, here's your day 1 notification, and then you could say, hey, you just signed up. Here's some valuable next steps. Take lesson 1, read this blog post, and whitelist our email address. Something like that. So you have like a little intro. You could put pictures and videos and stuff like that. And then you could build more of these, like day 5, you could send something, or day 3, or even day 2. So if you said, hey, it's day 2, time for lesson 2, something like that. So you can design these little email sequences to go out, and that looks like a similar feature to what the text message thing on Experientify was doing.
Yeah, and then Kate's question was anything like mini celebrations for getting to a certain point. That would dive back to the engagement menu Emily started with the options. And so it's like, let's say someone successfully completes a quiz. You can make that the trigger, and then it would send a pre-formatted email that says, hey, Bob, you're the bomb. You just successfully completed this quiz. Other people that successfully completed this quiz also like these 4 other courses.
Yeah. And you can change out a little image icon to have a little badge pop up if you wanted to do an achievement, stuff like that.
I usually start my emails out with, "Hey, I don't know if this is for you or not, but just for fun."
Yeah, I remember that. I still have that little business card from WordCamp San Diego.
Oh, that's good stuff. And so I think for most of my projects, and I should be very, very clear to Kate and Frankie and other people on the call. I am a poo-poo kind of guy. Like the gamification to me, I come from a corporate learning background, and the gamification to me, I never personally really understood it. It kind of drove me nuts. I was like, we're here for business. We're here to learn some stuff. And then but then when I was working with the folks at Ducati and I was training technicians at Ducati, just for giggles, because I had attended a webinar in gamification, and that was back in 2014, I think. I said, all right, well, let's create these badges, right? And Lifter LMS has badges, so just get that out of the way. We've got badges in the engagements area. So I created a badge that said, Ducati Monster, created a badge that said Ducati Multistrada, Ducati Panigale, Ducati Superleggera. And all of those are models that Ducati makes, and from slowest to most superior. And so I said, oh, as you complete these courses, you're going to earn these badges. And then as a technician, you're going to become a Monster technician. You're going to become a Panigale technician, or you're going to be a Superleggera technician. And I could not believe how many students got excited about it, and the course completion rate jumped. Like, as much as I hated the idea of it personally, it actually worked. And so so sometimes I forget to put gamification into a project, but then I'll bring it up with a client like, hey, if this is for you, if this is for you in your use case, if this matches your demographic, you have these skills available. Now, in the questions, Kate said, what about leaderboards? I think it's GamiPress Pro that you need to have. I think there's a pro version, and they do have leaderboards. And so earlier when Emily was saying this has so many points or this has so many whatever, what it does is it creates this point standing for different things that you accomplish, and then it puts people on a leaderboard. And so if you've got 150 students and you want to have a leaderboard of the top 10 performers in class, you could absolutely do that. Kate put in a long comment now. Let's see what she's got here. The point made this morning is that we're not competing with other course creators. We're competing with TikTok, YouTube. Yeah, well, kind of. I don't know if y'all see my TikTok or not. Hey, you want to make TikTok? Anything else that draws attention to content, gamification uses the same dopamine principle. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And I see that you're doing, it's set up here. I'm in corporate training. I was in corporate training too, Kate. I did Ducati, Suzuki for cars, motorcycles, and boats. I wrote the content for BRP that they used in their service departments. I did works for some other power sports brands, and then for a boat retailer here in the States. And I was shocked, absolutely shocked at how employing the gamification changed the game so much, because in my own brain, it didn't make sense. But I'm the kind of guy that learns things to learn things. Like, I signed up for this new page builder, and I am nowhere near the skill level required to use this page builder yet. And so I have been diving in on 3 different subjects to kind of give myself the background that I need to use the page builder, and studying the page builder at the same time. And for an old dude, it's a little bit of overwhelm, but I do that without anyone having to push me or give me prizes along the way. And so I'm always shocked that most of our student base isn't built like that. Most of our student base needs a push along the way for completion and things like that. And so I have to disconnect myself sometimes from what's actually happening. I don't know. How do you feel, Emily? Because let's just throw it out there. You're younger and you have access to all the socials and you do all that, and you got a little bit of ADD, right?
Yeah.
So do you prefer to have gamification in your platforms?
I don't know. So, I mean, I guess it depends on what I'm doing. I would say that I like it because, like, it kind of has to align with identity. Like you said, with the manufacturers or the service providers, working on like automotive vehicles, they would identify as a core part of their personality with these vehicles and with the job. Like they're very much into the work they're doing. I think if you're doing like, and so like giving them the technical products they work on and they like really enjoy and they like read, they probably read the magazines of what's coming out each year with each manufacturer and what's upgraded, what they're so invested in it.
So if I would have given them titles like Caterpillar, Moth,
Yeah,
Butterfly,
no, they wouldn't. You know, it's like it has to relate to their identity somehow.
Yeah, I think I just, in that experiment, I think I accidentally hit the nail on the head and it worked.
Yeah. They wouldn't really do the cocoon. Like, oh, you're in the cocoon. Welcome to the cocoon. It's time to learn.
Oh, you're a chrysalis.
Right?
You're a chrysalis. Congratulations.
Like they wouldn't be running around the office like harassing the other ones about being a chrysalis. Like they would,
Yeah.
but like since they're like, oh my gosh, like this is such a core part. And I mean, for training, that's maybe like not something someone would be excited to do. I think it's really valuable, but it has to somehow be a part of their identity. Like if you're doing continuing education for doctors or for like, you know, franchisees, it's like, I don't, you got to kind of strike into their personality a little bit, like what they obsess over, even when they're not at work, stuff like that. And that's kind of a complicated one.
Yeah. I think I've never been diagnosed, and I'm not taking any pills. I'm not a pill person, but I think I have like an adult ADD onset kind of thing. My wife will definitely tell you I've got adult ADD, but I have some of the other extremes of it, like with hyper focus on things that matter, you know? So like when I saddle onto something to learn it, oh, I'm going to learn it.
Yes.
And then everything else can just fall to the side. I guess that's where the ADD comes in. Kate's all having a full conversation here. She says, same here, Kurt. And then she says, and I confess, I think certificates are stupid. Well, easy now, Kate. Certificates are a lot of what people like in LifterMS. Let's not upset everybody. You know what? I like to learn for the sake of learning. Like I'm learning this new page builder. I don't think there's any certificate at the end. You know, what's weird is someone said, "Oh, I got this certificate for being an AI expert from Google," and I was like, "What?" So I signed in. Sure enough, it's a free course. It took like 18 minutes. Now I got a certificate from Google. I'm an AI expert. It's like there's all kinds of weird stuff. And does it count? It's hard to say if things really count or not. I don't think my certificate from Google means anything. Chrysalis might be reverse psychology. How embarrassing. Yeah.
I mean, I learned about this yesterday, is that like if you put negative, like it's kind of like if you put in negative, like you're trying to reverse psychology people into wanting to get better at your platform because you insult them, it doesn't actually work. It just makes them like have negative connotations associated. Like they're like, oh, I felt bad about myself when I was looking at your website because you called me a chrysalis. And then it's like, well, I mean, it doesn't make me want to get better. And I'm like, that kind of makes sense, but I never thought about it before because my marketing is pretty negative. It's like, oh, don't you want your problems to go away? Don't they suck? And I'm like, okay, but like this lecture I listened to is like, actually, you're just putting negative emotions in people's heads when they look at your page, even though you're trying to sell them on the pain point. Just like make it more positive, like make the win about like, you know, aren't you going to be excited for when more customers are rolling in and the tech is easier to use? Like that kind of thing. That's what I need to bring into my marketing. If you have a captive audience, I mean, if you have a captive audience and you
fire and brimstone,
right.
Do this now or you're going to get fired. You need a certificate to get a paycheck. As someone that had a captive audience, and I'm not going to say I abused it. I'm not an abusive personality. But what a pain in the rear end, because like HR would constantly be asking me as the training manager, oh, I need a report for who's completed this, that, and the other. I need a report for this. What are we going to do to increase our course completion rates? What are we going to do about these deadlines? So first thing I learned was I got to lie about the deadlines. Like if HR has a deadline, my deadline's got to be 10 days before it. And then I really had to, like, I was originally as a corporate trainer, corporate didn't want to pay for an effective CRM for me to use. They thought I was going to use like Microsoft Outlook to email everybody, but you can only email 25 people at a time with those platforms. And so, there I am trying to email, 1,000 technicians about, how they're behind on their training. It was absolute mayhem and craziness. And so part of me is so glad to be out of the corporate training world where a president and a vice president make some kind of tech decision, and then you as a director or a manager are stuck with that decision. Like, we had a custom LMS platform that cost 400 grand a year that didn't basically do anything. And then there was nothing built in there for the students for course completion or gamification or any of that. And they didn't have the budget or the wherewithal to help support that. And they didn't have a functioning CRM tool that I could use to mass email students for, mass communication. And so I think about the freedom I have now in this WordPress space that I'm in now, and the way that I create things for our clients is like, hey, you're going to want to have the LMS. You're going to want to have the course creation stuff. You're going to want to make the course the way you want and style things externally from the course the way you want. So WordPress gives you the freedom and flexibility for design and style. So you get all that. And then you can put in a CRM so you can have the freedom to email 1,000 people at a time if you need to. You can put in reminders. You can do gamification. You can do all the things in Lifter that I couldn't do in the corporate sense. And that to me is semi-hilarious, because I think about how when I was in those corporate training positions, I was working on websites that cost 250 to 400 grand a year, depending on what company I was with, and that same thing with a Lifter LMS and the hosting and the support and all that would be like less than 70 grand a year, right? To run those same programs, but have so much better of a platform for the students. And so, I get pretty passionate about it. Complete your course or you're dropping down to Chrysalis. If only we could do that. Hey, Bob, I need to know, when are you going to complete section 2 and really spread your wings, man? Get out of that Chrysalis. All right. Upper management writes the most boring course content ever. Won't let you improve it and hold you accountable for the course uptake. Yeah. Well, you nailed all that. In my experience, I also got the courses in other languages. So I would get a course, in either Japanese or Italian, or in some cases French. And then I would have to rework the content. But anytime I tried to put any kind of, flair on it, it was like, oh, what's all this? We just need to focus on the facts. It was an interesting thing. I'm really glad that I run my own training stuff now. Any thoughts, Emily? Emily, have you done corporate training stuff? You have.
Yeah, it's so boring. It's like, it's hard to get people engaged with it. I don't know why the altitude's really messing me up. I don't like it up here.
Emily's going down.
I am a chrysalis up here. I am nothing compared to what I am on the mainland. Yeah, I don't know. Corporate training is like really, really freaking boring. And like, I feel like the owners of the corporations and a lot of the people who are like sending these orders are making like a buttload of money and maybe are able to dissociate from their jobs. But it's hard for those people who are like going through the training and maybe like struggling to like engage, to be like, oh, why do I have to do this boring training? So it's nice when people come in and try to make it fun, try to make it engaging and try to invest time and effort into that. And just be like, what can we do to make this more, just make you more engaged at work in general, but also kind of have fun with what you're doing, kind of lock in and feel good about it. And so I've been like pushing that angle more of like, this video I'm watching is like the equivalent of like a saltine cracker as far as the personality goes. And with corporations, you have like HR, which is going to like try to sanitize anything that people say, which makes sense because, you don't really want to hurt people. But it's also kind of like, how do we engage people reasonably without, I have a visitor too. You want to meet my visitor? Kurt always has dog friends.
Oh, I love dog friends. That's a chocolate lab, huh?
It's a chocolate lab.
All right. So, there's 3 colors of labs, right? There's black labs, yellow labs, and chocolate labs. Chocolate labs are the lovable ones.
Yeah.
That dog is lovable, right? It's looking
Th-
at you and it's saying, "Hey, I know you're a cat person, Emily, but I still love you."
yeah. This dog is saying like, I'm ready to like bite your crotch and it's time for playtime. Like I'm a little overstimulated by that. I'm a little bit like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do here? I say no, but it's not assertive enough.
You just have to have a tennis ball ready.
True. Like this is like a puppy too, so she will climb anybody at any time for anything she wants.
I love dogs. So the black ones are the smart ones. Black ones are super smart. Yellow ones are dumb as rocks, but super fun. And then the chocolate ones are super lovable. And anyone that wants to argue with me is welcome to jump into the chat and argue with me about that. But we used to run a critter sitting business, and on a wholesale basis, I'm not saying there can't be an exception to the rule, but every time someone would drop off a black lab, that thing was smart, super smart. And then someone would drop off a yellow one, dumb as a rock, but super funny, like just a hoot to be around. And then the chocolate ones, oh my goodness, they want to sit on the sofa and watch TV with you. They want to just hang out. They want to lean against your kneecap until your knee buckles the other way. Super lovable. So I love chocolate labs and I love Great Danes. Absolutely love Great Danes. And then Great Danes don't have a lot of fuzzy fur, but they do shed a lot. And then Dobermans have that same like wiry short hair to me. But again, no one thinks a Doberman is super lovable, but the Dobermans we used to watch, oh my goodness. One wanted to get put to bed every night on his bed with a blanket. You had to like tuck him in at night, and then he stayed there all night. It was the weirdest thing, but super cool dog. His name was Pharaoh. I would take him for long walks, and people would like, because he looked like he would rip your arm off, but he was the nicest thing ever. Kate's asking questions, folks. She says, "I don't want to take over this Ask Me Anything call, but what are other viewers thinking about today?" Well, Kate, I don't know. I haven't seen your opinion on dogs yet, so it's all right. For me, I think today's been fun because we're actually talking about using the platform rather than the technical side of building the platform. There's so many uses for an LMS. I actually have a I have a talk that I deliver that is, why every company needs a learning management system. And I deliver that talk on behalf of my own agency, and I delivered it like entrepreneur nights and stuff like that. And that talk is based on the idea of whenever I'm meeting with a client and it's about building a new website, one of my just standard questions is when you hire people or when you sell new product, how do you onboard people? How do you onboard staff and how do you onboard customers? And they'll be like, well, what are you talking about? And I'll say, well, like you sell whatever it is, right? You sell remote control cars, and they go, well, they take it out of the box and they play with it. Oh, well, what if there was a course on how to properly charge it, how to properly store it, how to properly clean it, and they're like, oh, that's a really good idea. I'm like, every business has 3 courses out of the chute. One is if it's a distribution business, you have people in the field that sell your products. So you need a features and benefits course for internal training. If you sell that product and it's a consumer product, then you need to have a course for people to know how to use the product, right? How to properly use it, store it, all that kind of stuff. And then the third set of courses, I should say, is for your after sales division, people that are responsible to fix that product when it breaks in the field. And so I don't care if it's computers, motorcycles, boats, cars, RC cars, like whatever, there should be training for people in the field to kind of get, because a lot of people are going to go to YouTube, my son works at a bicycle store. Perfect example. My son is 17. He works at a bicycle store. Somebody brings in a bicycle that's not their brand. They bought something at Walmart and it doesn't shift. He doesn't have the owner's manual for the Walmart bicycle sitting anywhere in that bike shop. So he ends up, hitting up YouTube and going, how do I adjust the derailleur on a Walmart X whatever bicycle? Imagine if you were that brand and you had your own website and you had features and benefits courses for people that sell the product, training for customers on how to use it properly, and training for people in the field on how to fix it. Every business needs an LMS. And that doesn't even get into onboarding staff. So during the pandemic, all these companies jumped on TV and they said, we're going to take everything online. And then they laid off all their staff. And then when they started rehiring staff, the first step to getting the job is to fly to the corporate office, even if it's a remote job, is to fly to the office for orientation and filling out paperwork with HR. You should be able to fill all that stuff remotely. They could be attachments to lessons that people knock out. And then as they complete the lessons, it goes through the process of onboarding, and they can do the 2-hour safety video, the sexual harassment video, that they can do all that with mandatory viewing with LifterMS advanced videos, and you can onboard everybody remotely. You don't even have to pay for airfare and hotel and per diem to ship people in for onboarding. I think about all of the uses for our platform and how it's not being used, and all the opportunity that's out there for agencies to sell those services. Let's see. Here we go. Do type my question or ask with microphone. Oh, Nick, you type in the question. You let me throw that back up there for people that come in late and miss it. Lifter LMS pre-sales Q&A questions in the chat. So just jump into chat, just like you did asking that question, and type in whatever question you got, and we'll try to get to it here with our remaining time. We've got about 20 minutes or so that should help. What do we got here? Kate says, I thought the only one who thinks fur color affects doggo's personality. Red poodles are super lovable Velcro dogs, but slightly insane. I'll back you up on that one. Black poodles, really smart. Yep. White poodles, anxiety city. I think that's where, so right now we have a golden doodle, right? And so that golden doodle came from a black poodle mother and then a golden, and that's my dog. So I have a golden doodle now. And I think it gets the smarts from the black poodle mother, I think is how that happens. Multicolored, like you said, dumb as rocks. Oh, man, I love talking about dogs. As a life motivational coach, how do you help with course creation for my clients on my website? Okay. Frankie, I want to make sure I get this right. As a life motivational coach, how do you help with course creation for my clients on my website? So you got to think about how your clients communicate, Frankie. Everyone's different in this space. So as a life motivational coach, a lot of people are instantly going to think Tony Robbins or something like that. But it's not fair to just make an assumption that, everybody that's in that space is like bigger than life Tony Robbins yelling and screaming all the time. So you want to create courses that reflect you. I think that's really, really important. A lot of people right now are trying to leverage AI to kind of like write me an outline expand the outline for this, and then use my voice to create this content or whatever. And then when it's done, it sucks. Like it just does. I think in your space for a motivational coach working directly with clients, I think the course has to reflect you, your personality, and your motivations. So I think that's really important. Step one. Step two, a lot of people that are coming to a motivational coach, and I'm just working on stereotypes here. This is not specific to your audience, but they seem to appreciate the idea of micro-learning. By micro-learning, I mean, you're not going to have any one lesson that's an hour long. You're going to try and keep your lessons to, somewhere in the 5 to 10 minute range. You're going to have a topic. You're going to expand that topic. You're going to wrap up that topic. Bam, close out that one, and then move on to the next lesson. And so if you can build those as micro lessons and kind of have a story arc to that, so that maybe as a motivational coach, it's like, how do you identify your pain points? How do you isolate your pain points? How do you address your individual pain points? How do you come up with solutions for your pain points? And then how do you implement change to eliminate those pain points? And so instead of it being like all combined into 1 hour long lesson, you would combine it into those types of lessons all in one section. And each of those sections would be, maybe 10 minutes. I'm doing a course right now that's 47 lessons long. And I'll admit that that's a big chunk. I don't really advise building a War and Peace as a course. But I have one that's 47 lessons long. Some of those lessons are like 4 minutes, right? So it got to be like really like to the point, like boom, micro learning. And then what happens is if you build it as a micro learning example, then they're able, when they're done with the course, they're able to kind of use it like a resource and they can go back to a certain topic really quickly. Kind of like when you go to a YouTube video and they use the timestamps to go to a certain part of the video. If you think about that as the course, if you think about the mindset in getting information off of YouTube and you try to transfer that and what would that look like making a course in an LMS, then you can start to think in those terms. Emily, you might have a different opinion.
Yeah,
You're like, I love long form content. Sign me up for 3 hours.
No, I don't. I like things that can be easily accessed, easily indexed. There's one video host that I've never been able to play with because I just haven't invested the time into it. But they transcribe your videos and then make them searchable by words. So if someone remembers a specific phrase in your video, they can like find exactly the timestamp when that was said. I don't know. As a motivational coach, I would literally take from your client calls directly and turn it around into content. I think one of the biggest things people do is they're especially as like motivational coaches, usually something that's optional. It's not like required training, like continuing education or like corporate training. People have the option to just completely ignore your course and go to TikTok. So in that place, like how can you make it as customer focused as possible? Like how can you lock in on the customer's problems as much as possible? So I would literally directly answer questions from your clients, turn them around into TikTok's marketing and funnels into your courses. I just realized like when I do coaching, it doesn't help me to go off on tangents and be like, I think my students should know about this. It's more like I'm going to directly take their questions, directly answer their questions with the frameworks that I know and love, and put out that content. And then that's a really great way to do it. And I don't know if you're working on your funnel, if you're trying to get people in, if you're going from 0 students to 10 students, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, what category or bracket you're in as far as how many people you currently have paying you for these kinds of services at any dollar amount. That's really important too. And with coaching, you have such a high upside because you can sell your time for $200, $500 an hour, or whatever it is. You can have that as like a advanced offer. So you can say like, you could sit down with me for 10 hours and we could work through this problem. If we say $200 an hour, that would cost like $2,000. But for $500, you can get the course. So you can kind of anchor your course against your coaching pricing and then answer questions from your coaching. But getting client flow for coaching, especially for motivational, is usually the tricky part. So I don't know if you've got that one hacked or not.
When it comes to the coaching stuff, I agree with you, Emily. I try to jump on Chris's example of the good, better, best pricing strategy, and best includes access to me one-on-one, and it comes at a premium cost. And I know that this is going to freak some people out, but Chris just did a feature in his training about the perfect offer. So, and it was on pricing. And I used to try to be competitive. I used to try and make things so attractive. How could they possibly miss out? And I've since changed my opinion on that. I have super competitive rates on a DIY program, right? You want access to the course material, no training, no consulting, no this, no that, just access to the content. That's going to be super affordable and that's going to be competitive. If you're going to join into the office hours, kind of like what me and Emily are doing here, but more like a restricted Zoom room with 10 or 12 people in it. If I'm going to do that is going to be the better plan, right? The better plan is going to have access to me once a month, once a week, whatever the schedule is. But that's going to come with a premium. I've learned over time, and again, I'm old. So take this with a grain of salt. If you're young, maybe you got to get some more skin in the game first. But I'm old. And I am generally regarded as the expert in the room in most of the rooms that I sit in. And that's not to be braggadocious. That's what the product is. The product is you have access to me as the expert in this field, right? That's why I have the training site. So if you want direct access to the expert to ask your questions live, that's going to come with a premium commitment. And then what I also offer is these one-on-one, the best program, right? You want one-on-one, just you and me jumping on a screen share and walking you through some stuff. That, I'll be honest with you, I almost priced that past the point that I wouldn't pay it. Not because I'm greedy, but because God forbid that actually took off. How would I support that? How would that be a duplicable situation for me if 1,000 people wanted an hour with me this month? It wouldn't work. And so I have to think of it in those terms of, even though it's not selling, I have to think about what if it did sell. And so I have that priced pretty high. In my power sports product, one-on-one dealership training consulting with me is $44,000 for the year. Not many dealers are going to sign up for that, but the ones that do are going to make an extra $800,000 to $1 million through their service department next year. And so it's well worth the $44,000 because of what they get on the back end, because they're going to make that revenue up. But you have to be strong. You have to know what your actual product is. Oh, Nick asked a real question here about using what looks like the Universe bundle. It says you have a lifter package that allows for installation on 5 sites. That's the Universe bundle. I want to install it on a new site. Perfect. Does the package also allow for the payment and kit.com plugin installations, or do I have to pay for those separately? When you join the Universe bundle, you get access to those integrations. So I want to be like super, super clear, like for payment. So Stripe's not going to pay you to have, and they're not going to charge you out of a Stripe account, right? And so that Stripe integration is going to come with the Universe bundle. You can install that on up to 5 websites, no problem. We don't provide the kit subscription, but if you have kit and you want to integrate with kit, you can absolutely do that. I think we do. Help me, Emily. I'm going from memory. MailChimp. I think Kit is one. What are some others?
Groundhog, Fluent CRM. You got ActiveCampaign, Infusionsoft. Zoho CRM is popular, even though it's hard to develop for.
Yeah. Fluent CRM is interesting because if you have Fluent CRM Pro, the integration is automatic. You don't have to do anything on the Lifter side. You just install Fluent CRM Pro, and then in the integrations tab for Fluent CRM Pro, you just say connect the Lifter, and it says, Bob's your uncle, you're done. It's easy. But yeah, you're not limited. So we don't provide the CRMs themselves, but you get the integration with those CRMs. And yeah, you have access up to 5 websites. So that would be cool. Kate had put a question in earlier. It said, are either of you well-versed in transferring SCORM content to Lifter LMS? Kate, I sent you to scormpress.com. Scormpress.com leads to a course on how to move SCORM from a website to Lifter LMS. But let's be clear, the Academy at Lifter LMS also has a course that I made for Lifter LMS. It doesn't have all the details that ScormPress has, but it's got enough to get you to the finish line. And that course is free. So you could go to lifterlms.com, click on Learn, click on the submenu for Academy, browse all courses, and you'll see there's one there for SCORM. And so, and we've also made a couple of like blog posts and stuff about it that show like all the directions on how to do it. But I think the course is more complete because it gives you a just a better overall view of going through the process. Frankie, great. I always come across unique. My course is simple, user-friendly, and very clear and unique with questions. A 30 and 60-minute course is valuable. Thank you. Hey, no problem, Frankie. It's always so cool to be able to help some people. Building a funnel. Kurt and Emily, hope to scale 100 clients over 6 to 12 months. Super reasonable. I'm so glad to see you put 100 and not 1,000 or 10,000. I have a lot of people come to me that go, oh, I'm just going to build this community with 10,000 people in it. I go, where do you think these 10,000 people are coming from? One-to-one group coaching. Thank you guys for your valuable information. Frankie, before I just mentioned the Academy, and I know we're kind of coming up on time soon, but I just mentioned the Academy at Lifter LMS. I really want to encourage you to go to lifterlms.com, click on Learn, click on Academy, and there's a course in there. I forget the name of it, but it's the Enrollment Summit. And there was what was the course? Get it to your first 25 paid users or something?
Yeah, it was just called the Enroll Summit. I think it was 0 to 10. Like, this is some of the hardest people to get. Your first 10 clients. Like, I developed a framework when I was working full time at Lifter that you have multiple categories you're in that require different strategies: 0 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000. There are 4 categories, and they're obviously defined in like factors of 10, but like when you're going from 0 to 10, you're not going to look at Google ads. That's not going to be a strategy you want to use. But when you're going from 1,000 to 10,000, you are going to want to look at Google ads. Google ads you're going to be looking at like percentages of increase. So if you increase something by 1 to 2%, that's going to be 10 to 20 sales. And that's going to be a big number for you. But from 0 to 10, if you increase something by 1%, that's a tenth of a sale, and that's not going to turn into a sale. So like you have to employ different strategies when you're going from that 0 to 10, 10 to 100. And so it outlines exactly what the 0 to 10 strategies are. A lot of clients I see and saw throughout Lifter customers would jump in with a big game and they'd be like, yo, this is our goal. This is our projection. We're going to roll out and hit it. It's like, well, we should get real about exactly where we're at in the field so that we can like, I'm not trying to crush any dreams, but I'm like, if we skip this, if we deploy a 10 to 100 strategy and we neglect that 0 to 10 strategy, our positioning of our product in the first place might not even be in the place it needs to be to scale. Like courses and memberships are such a scalable offering. Any amount of people can sign up to your website and get those. We have Lifter sites with 500,000, 1 million students in them. And but going from like a product that hasn't even been validated by paying customers to that level is not quite as simple, and believing that we have the product in our own mind that people are definitely going to want can be complicated. I don't know. I have opinions on this. Chris talks about it like if you can solve a problem for yourself or speak to a problem that you solved for yourself, other people in the world are probably going through it, which is true. But then it's like, how do you reach those people in the world if they're not necessarily Google searching the answers to those problems? Like that's the complicated thing about like the marketing piece of that is like, yes, other people do experience that problem, but if they're not on Google searching for the answers to that problem, we're going to need to find a different way to reach them. And that might be by using our expertise to like, answer people's questions on TikTok or I don't know, whatever platform people are coming to you on. But yeah, I would take any clients who've paid you currently, try to bring them into the platform, entice them to use it because they're already validated. They're already in your business, interested in what you have to offer. Just like maximize that, and then other people will kind of flock to that.
Yeah, it's you really touched on something that has I've made fun of it, and some people are like sensitive, right? But I'll call it out by name because I think they're just spamming the living crud out of me right now. This Passion.io thing. Tons of people, probably on some kind of affiliate program or something like that, are popping up all over the place for me. Like, websites are dead. Online courses are dead. This, you don't even need SEO. What you really need is your own mobile app and to put your content. So if you're a fitness instructor, if you're a this, if you're a that, you just need this thing. And then your audience is going to come there automatically and you're going to make millions of dollars. And I'm like, what audience? What are they? Who are they talking about? Like, I can't even get. Somebody asked me to put a mobile app on my phone when I was a paid public speaker at the event. And they said, well, here's the mobile app for the event. And I'll give you the schedule and the map to where everything is and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, thanks. Like, I don't want to put nothing else in my phone. So I find the whole thing very, very bizarre. I ran across another lady who was just spamming the living crud out of me on social. And she says that after she made $11 million on her course, she realized she had been doing it wrong the whole time. and that what she really needed to do was put her course sales on autopilot. And I was like, what kind of mayhem is this stuff? This is lunacy. If you're starting from scratch, you have to have an audience. You have to have an avatar. You have to have someone that you're going to sell your product to. And you got to figure out where those people are at, how you're going to communicate with them, and how you're going to let them know that you're the expert in that space. And I'm sorry, that's not going to happen from having a mobile app with no advertising or putting your sales on autopilot when you don't have a list to sell to. It's just really strange stuff going on right now. And I really caution people to not get loaded up on that. I am putting the link to the courses in the chat because I don't have access to my email right now. Someone said, oh, could you just email me that? Quick answer, no. So I put it right on the screen for you there. Link the course, and it's in the chat. You could copy it out of the chat. Academy.lifterlms.com. Academy.lifterlms.com. There is so much value-driven content in that Academy page because, you know, Lifter LMS has been around, I think, 11 years now, or going on 11 years soon. And we've just continued to make content and update stuff as it's evolved. And there's a ton of value in there. Just for some reason in today's session, we hit on a few things. So we hit on the enrollment summit. We hit on SCORM, moving stuff to SCORM. There's obviously the getting started with Lifter LMS in there. And then let's just be honest, people that come to the Ask Us Anything call, some people don't even have WordPress knowledge. Like you're just going, I don't even know what WordPress is. If I told you that, you know, probably once every 2 weeks or so, I see a support ticket that says, I bought Lifter LMS and I tried to install it, but it doesn't do anything. And I say, well, did you install it in WordPress? They go, what's WordPress? So I have no idea where they think they installed the zip file, but yeah, well, it's not going to do anything if it's not in WordPress. So there's a full course on how to use WordPress in the Academy. So in the Academy, we try to take you from absolute beginning, like WordPress, install Lifter, grow Lifter, and then build your product, and then how to market and grow your audience and find success with the platform. It's all in there. Frankie says funny. It's funny until you realize it hurts. It's funny until you're like, oh, wow. You know, and sometimes we take so much for granted. Here we go. Kate's giving you props, Emily. Emily's course is called the Enroll Summit, getting your first 10 enrollments. A lot of us, especially some of the people in the chat, have been around for a while. I see a lot of familiar names that come and go out of the chat line. We have done, learned, and forgotten more than some people coming in are really ever going to know. Like maybe you started when there was the classic editor. Maybe, you know, you went through the pain of switching to Gutenberg. But for people signing up today and getting full site editing in a SkyPilot theme, Bob's your uncle. It's a fresh world. Like they can dive in like an infant with an iPhone and just start building content. Whereas people that have been around for a while, sometimes there's some hiccups there. Adam is right on point. He says, I know nothing, I see nothing. That's right on point, Adam. Adam, you just ran another big race this weekend, didn't you? Was it this weekend? You were training for some, is it a 100-miler or a 200-miler? I don't know. We're at the top of the hour. You'll have to text me and let me know. Folks, before we leave, I want to hit this up just one more time so that if Mr. Badge watches the call, I don't get in trouble. You do get a 55% off coupon for watching the show with us. Today, it is lifterlms.com/AMA-gift, lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. If you kind of had fun with us today and you want to do, you want to experiment on a site that's fully populated with sample content, just jump into lifterlms.com/try, lifterlms.com/try. That's also a really good tool for people that maybe had the Infinity bundle and they weren't sure if they wanted to, you know, jump up and get, you know, private areas and groups and cohorts and all those things. If that's stuff that you want to play with, just do the demo site for a month, check it out for $1, play with it, and then go, oh yeah, this makes sense, right? Or, oh no, I don't really need it after all. But at least that way you experience it and you make a good decision. Anything to finish up with, Emily?
No, I guess, well, actually, if you like the show, you should just email help@lifterlms.com and say, I love the pre-sales call. Just like drop that in there. A little positive feedback.
I was just thinking if those emails come to me or not. They don't. They don't.
Well, no, I'm just going to be like, keep the momentum going on the calls.
Momentum came up again. So, did you know that momentum is one of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership?
No, I did not. I did not know what the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership are.
Sounds like we got some curriculum to go over. Folks, have yourself a wonderful day. We will see you next week.
You're serious about building a profitable, impactful online course or training-based membership site. At Lifter LMS, we're here to help you do it on your own terms. Whether you're launching your first course or scaling out your academy, Lifter LMS gives you the tools, support, and freedom to grow. Head on over to Lifter LMS to choose your plan, including our free plan to get started today. You can even try out all our premium software for just $1. Our mission is to accelerate yours. It's great to be with you on the journey. We'll see you over at lifterlms.com.